What's up, guys? So this Sunday will be March 29th, and we're going to start our Easter series. So we're calling it Through the Night, and really what we're doing is we're looking at John 13 through 21 in four parts. So part one is the meal. I'll explain that in a minute. So part one is the meal that we have in John 13 and 14. Part two is the walk, that is John 15 through 17. Part 3 is the death, which is John 18 and 19. And then part 4 is the dawn, John 20 and 21. So as we start studying this, and this is going to look a little different, this was going to be all sermons, really 4 sermons, but instead we're kind of all studying this together along and on our own or with our families or whatever. So I want to point out a couple of things for you as you're studying. Number one, context is key here for us. Anytime we're studying the Word, it helps tremendously to start with context, both historical context, what's happening around them, literary context, what's happening in the text before and after. You've got all these things that are important. So John 13 picks up with Jesus and his disciples eating the Last Supper. They're in the upper room. It's at night. It's a Thursday night, and they're eating the Last Supper, the Passover meal. And this is not insignificant, right? It's big time important for us to understand what's going on. So if we think for a second, we remember that they're eating the Passover meal, and what are they doing? So if you go back to Exodus chapter 12, we think through what's happening in Exodus. The nation of Israel has been in bondage for 400 years. God hears their cry and is delivering them from slavery. And he tells Pharaoh through Moses to let my people go. Pharaoh says no. What happens is these plagues, these 10 plagues. And we get to the 10th plague. And the 10th plague is the death of the firstborn. And God is about to finish it. So God is judging the gods of Egypt. God is judging Pharaoh. And now it is over, or it's about to be over. Pharaoh's about to let them go. And so that's what's happening. But God does something here that will echo really for ages. So he tells his people to take a lamb on the 10th day of the month, to take a lamb, take it into your home, a year old, a male, unblemished, a year old, and on this night to kill it. Kill the lamb, put some blood of the lamb above the doorpost. And I don't have time to read the whole thing to you, but if you go to Exodus chapter 12, you can read this for yourself. But I want to read just a few verses. So starting in verse 7 of chapter 12, says this: Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire, with unleavened bread, bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted, its head with its legs and its inner parts, and you shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. In this matter you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. This is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So look, it's good for us to remember as we're reading John chapter 13 and 14 that Jesus is gathered with his disciples, and they're eating this meal, and really all of the families of Israel are gathered on this night eating this meal to remember how the Lord delivered his people by a strong hand and by the blood of the Lamb. It's huge. Crazy significance for what's going on and for what we're going to see over the next several hours as we read through, or as we track through John 13 through 21. So context is big. It gives us a good understanding as we jump into this. So I'm fired up about this study. I hope you are too. I'm excited to walk through it with my family and excited to help you as you walk through it with yours. See you soon.